41, answer is D. The anterior cruciate ligament prevents the posterior displacement of the femur on the tibia. It is attached to the anterior aspect of tibia, so it prevents anterior displacement of tibia. Forty-two, the answer is A. There are three muscles which cause medial rotation and abduction at the hip joint, and these are gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, and tensor fascia lata. All these are supplied by the superior gluteal nerve. The femoral nerve is the nerve of the anterior aspect of the thigh. It will not supply the gluteal region. Hyperextension at the hip joint is prevented by the iliofemoral ligament of Bigelow. It is prevented by the iliofemoral ligament of Bigelow. Question 43, the answer is D. Vas deferens is present posterior to the urinary bladder. It is not separated from the bladder by the peritoneum because the peritoneum covers only the superior surface of the bladder and the upper part of the posterior surface. Whereas seminal vesicles are present in the lower part and there is no peritoneum in between the two. Question 44, the answer is D. The vascular sinuses are seen in the red pulp of spleen. Spleen is divided into white pulp and red pulp. White pulp is formed by the lymphoid follicles which have an eccentric arteriole, and the rest of the structure of spleen is all red pulp. Question 45, the answer is A. The right recurrent laryngeal nerve loops around the right subclavian artery, so it does not pass through the superior aperture of thorax. Question 46, the answer is A. The submandibular gland has two parts and they wrap around the posterior border of mylohyoid muscle. The submandibular duct is also called Wharton's duct. It runs on the hyoglossus muscle between the hypoglossal nerve and the lingual nerve. At the anterior border of hyoglossus, this duct is crossed by the lingual nerve. This relation of the duct with the lingual nerve is important and is asked in MCQs. Question 47, The answer is A. The most common site is stomach. Another common site is Meckel's diverticulum. Question 48. The answer is C. This is because this scalenus medius muscle lies posterior to the artery. Since it lies posterior to the artery, so you don't have to cut it while exposing the artery. Question 49, the answer is A, and this has already been discussed with question 10. Question 50, the answer is A, that is gap junctions. Question 51, the answer is C. Let us look at the development of the ear. External ear. The pinna develops from the fusion of 6 auricular hillocks around the dorsal part of the first pharyngeal ectodermal cleft. Tragus develops from the first arch. Rest of the auricle and the muscles develop from the second arch. External auditory meatus develops from the dorsal part of the first ectodermal cleft. Tympanic membrane is a structure which develops from all the 3 germ layers, the endoderm, the ectoderm, as well as the mesoderm. It develops by apposition of first pharyngeal cleft with the tubotympanic recess, with the mesoderm in between. Coming to the middle ear, the epithelial lining of the middle ear and the auditory tube develop from the tubotympanic recess the first pharyngeal pouch. Malleus and incus develop from the first arch cartilage. Stapes develops from the second arch cartilage. The middle ear has 2 muscles, tensor tympani and stapedius. The tensor tympani develops from the mesoderm of first arch, whereas the stapedius develops from the second arch mesoderm. Coming to the internal ear, the membranous labyrinth develops from the ectoderm overlying the hindbrain, which forms the otic placode and then the otic vesicle. The special sensory end organs develop by differentiation of localized areas of membranous labyrinth. The bony labyrinth develops from the mesenchyme around the membranous labyrinth which is condensed to form the otic capsule. 52, the answer is A. Hyaline cartilage has type 2 collagen fibers. Fibrocartilage has mainly type 1 fibers, whereas elastic cartilage has again type 2 fibers. 53, the answer is C. The fundus of gallbladder passes through the lower border of L1 vertebra, which is the transpyloric plane. Question 54, the answer is B. This is the paraesophageal hernia, which is occurring by the side of the esophagus. Question 55, the answer is D. The triangle of doom is an anatomical triangle which is bound by vas deferens medially, the spermatic vessels laterally, and the external iliac vessels inferiorly. Question 56, the answer is C. The zona pellucida is a membrane it's a glycoprotein coat which is surrounding the fertilized ovum, and it remains till the blastocyst stage. Question 57, the answer is C. The allantoic diverticulum is an endodermal diverticulum which develops from the cranialmost part of the hindgut. It extends from the ventral aspect of the hindgut into the connecting stalk and it divides the hindgut into pre and post allantoic parts. The pre-allantoic part gives rise to the left 1/3 of the transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, and upper part of the rectum up to into the middle transverse fold. The post-allantoid part is the dilated endodermal cloaca. The urorectal septum divides the cloaca into two parts, the primitive urogenital sinus and the primitive rectum. This is the allantois. And this part is the cloaca. This is the anal membrane and the urogenital membrane. This anterior part, which is the primitive urogenital sinus along with the allantois, this develops into urinary bladder and urethra. Let us see the development of the urinary bladder. The trigone of the bladder develops from the mesoderm by incorporation of the mesonephric ducts. By the absorption of the mesonephric ducts, the trigone of the bladder is formed. The rest of the mucous membrane develops from the endodermal part of the vesico-urethral part of cloaca. This is mesoderm. This is endodermal part of vesico-urethral part of cloaca. Close to the apex, the part of the bladder develops from absorption of proximal part of allantois. So basically the proximal part of allantois forms the apex of the urinary bladder, whereas the distal part of the allantois it gets obliterated to form the urachus, which persists as the median. It is median and not medial. Median umbilical ligament. This urachus forms the median umbilical ligament. 58, the answer is A. The Hortiga cells are also called the jitter cells, and these are the microglial phagocytic cells. Question 59, the answer is B. Inferior parietal gyrus. The primary gustatory cortex is basically concerned with the function of taste. It consists of two structures, the anterior insula on the insular lobe and the frontal operculum on the inferior frontal gyrus. Question 60, the answer is A, inferior epigastric. We have already discussed the inferior epigastric in question 1. The inferior epigastric is a branch of external iliac. It gives a pubic branch. The inferior epigastric artery, which is a branch of external iliac, gives a pubic branch which sometimes takes place of obturator artery when we call it replaced obturator artery. Otherwise, the main obturator artery is a branch of the anterior division of the internal iliac. This we have discussed in question 1. In other cases, the pubic branch of inferior epigastric artery joins the obturator artery, and then it is called the accessory obturator artery.